What's up, everybody? People always say, why does everything have to be about race? That's how this country was founded. Like I said in one of my poems, racism is a religion, and religion is a Ponzi scheme. And a good way to tell you in a bad neighborhood is when you see a lot of churches. I was just looking at a picture of the NAACP, National Achievement and Advancement for Colored People. NAACP. Who's colored people? Those were jaded, ambiguous terms that were created to take all the attention away from black people. I'm not black color-wise, but I'm black because that's a term that America uses to identify me. When Europeans first came to America, they were called pilgrims. Then they went from being called pilgrims to call themselves Puritans. Then they went from calling themselves Puritans to calling themselves Christians. But when black people and Native Americans started getting baptized, they couldn't use that term Christian anymore. So they started calling themselves English. Then they went from calling themselves English to calling them where they were from, like German American, Italian American. Then they just said, fuck it, we just white. We white and you black. And that's how the term white and black came about. Now, here in America, you got all these terms that they use for so-called people of color. They call us colored people, people of color, brown people. They do this to the so-called so they won't be offensive. Instead of calling you black, they call you brown, people of color, colored people, minority, diversity, ethnic. These are all named, jaded, and ambiguous terms that were created. They were created to take all the attention away from black people and give everybody else a free ride. That's why when you get all these migrants that come to America, they call them people of color. But on their paperwork, they're classified as white. Most Hispanics, when they come to America, they call them people of color. But on their paperwork, they're classified as white. When Asians come to America, they're classified as people. They call them people of color. But on their paperwork, they're classified as white. When the Egyptians come to America, they call them people of color. But on their paperwork, they're classified as white. Everything is about race in America. And a race is a competitive relationship between groups of people. A race means to compete. A race is a competition. And we are in competition with each other for wealth and resources. That's where the term race comes from. And everything in America, excuse me, everything in America is about race. It's about race. It's about a competition. And technically, black people, we losing. But it's designed that way. Like I was just saying, all those people that come to America. See, black people in America only make up 13% of the population. If you notice, our population never goes higher or lower. It stays at 13%. Where are more black Americans coming from? The only way black people in America are able to increase our population is through birth. That's it. Those Africans that come to America, they got to go back. And then you got a small percentage of Caribbeans that come to America. But black population never goes past 13%. It never goes any higher. But we get a steady influx of other people of color coming to America. But like I said, on paper, we call them people of color. But on their paperwork, they're classified as white. So you get all these immigrants. Notice black population never grows. White population fluctuates. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up and down. Black never goes up, it never goes down. It stays at 13%. Because there's an unending influx of immigrants coming to America that we call people of color. And they come to America to correct their poverty. But they pretend like they went through the shit black people in America went through, and they didn't. They probably went through the shit they went through in their country. They didn't go through it here in America. So it's disingenuous that they're allowed to come to America to correct their poverty. They make money and they send it back. And a black neighborhood is like a bucket with a bunch of holes in it. Because the money comes in the black neighborhood and it leaves out the liquor store, the Chinese restaurant, the hair care products, nail care products, and drugstores that are owned by people of color. But on paper, they're classified as white. And they send that money back to their country. They don't spend that money in black neighborhoods. Everybody got a business in the black neighborhood except for black people. And this is why black neighborhoods look so bad, because the money don't circulate. The money goes from a black hand to an Arab, from a black hand to an Asian, from a black hand to an Egyptian. People of color. But on paper, they're classified as white. And that money goes back to their country. They don't spend that money with black people. And people always wonder how come black people can get their shit together. We can't get our shit together because it's designed that way. It's social engineering. Like I said, a black neighborhood doesn't prosper because there are no black businesses in the neighborhood. And that money that comes in the neighborhood is sent out the country. I don't know how they do that. I don't know. But they send their money home. They don't spend their money. Nobody, black business get boycotted every day. That's why it's a grand opening, grand closing. Black businesses always get boycotted. And those people come and make money all for black people. And then they send their money back home. Like I said, everybody got a business in a black neighborhood. And every night a black neighborhood goes through a Great Depression. When those buildings, when the businesses close down, all that money gets sent home. Or they serve you through a bulletproof glass or some shit like that. But everything is about race in America. A race is a competition, and we're competing for wealth and resources and our prospective group. But most black people, even like when them NBA players and stuff, they make money. Like I said, if they make money, it makes no difference to black people. That's their money. They don't spend that money in the black neighborhood. They don't spend that money where they come from. They don't spend that money where they come from. They come from most NBA players, the NFL players come from the hood. And they don't spend that money in their hood. They might go back to their hood and give out some sneakers or some coats or some shit like that. But that doesn't generate wealth in their community. That's a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. It don't do nothing else. And that's it. But like I was saying about, as far as like the basketball tournament and stuff like that, we get mad because the team was predominantly black, South Carolina, predominantly black, and they won the championship. But they're focusing on one individual and their team and the way they lost. They're focusing on them, the paper, the media. But that's the media's job. The media's job is that's what I said when I said integration is a diluting process. There was a time when black people had black media. We had black newspapers and magazines and stuff where we could talk about black people. But when we integrated, that slowly went away. Now we mad at the paper for not giving props to the South Carolina. But it is what it is because we don't have newspapers. We, like I said, Bill O'Reilly and Tucker Carlson and them can talk bad about black people all the time. But there's nobody at the other end of the table to say good things about black people. So the media gets drowned with all the negative images of black people. You get all that negative write-up about black people because we don't have black newspapers. We don't have black magazines like we used to have Ebony and Jet and shit like that. Integration took all that away. Integration is a diluting process. You don't see no other race of people break their neck to intermingle with society. Black people, we the only ones that do that. Like I said, when immigrants come to America, and they can't speak English, that is not a handicap. Everything they need is right in their community. They got the doctors that speak their language. They got the cleaners that speak their language. They got all the businesses. They got renting offices that speak their language. Everything they need is right there in their community. They don't have to break their neck to integrate. Black people, we the only ones that break our neck to integrate. One of the things I say is because we don't have a language like everybody else has. Everybody else got a language that they use to build a fence around their community. Black people don't have a language. We speak English. I made a joke about it the other day. I was saying everybody waiting for Jesus to come save them, but Jesus don't speak English. Jesus speak Aramaic. Jesus can't help you. He can't speak English. But it is what it is, yo. That's why I said immigrants come to America and they come to correct their poverty. And they pretend that they suffered like black people because they use that term, people of color. And black people, we get mad when people call us black because we're not black color-wise. But that's what we identify as. Being black is very specific. Slavery, Jim Crow, 400 years of planned ignorance, all that was very specific. It wasn't imposed on people of color. It was imposed on black people and black people only. People of color came later on.